Sure that here. Scroll. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
And this is the password for the laptop if you need it for
Okay.
any reason.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do it on time here. Right on time.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Doing well, how are you?
Doing well. Yeah, can't complain. We've got some folks at home there. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. Or if you have questions, by all means, speak up because I won't be watching the chat really. And sorry, it's just a view of the side of my face. If you're at home, I apologize. We had some technical difficulties with the computer. So, howdy. Yeah, we'll get started. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then for those of you who are here, I'd love to hear just who you are and how you got here and how things have been going so far. So my name is Garrett. I run the Bring Home Denver team. I started my career here at this office back in 2013 and have just known from the beginning that I wanted to build a team in real estate and kind of set out to do that from day one. And it's been a wild ride. There's ups and downs constantly. But the thing is, and we'll talk about this a lot today, success comes just from your daily habits and your daily actions and what you're going to put into it. You'll always get out what you put in. So yeah, our office is right over here in the corner, just in the basement. And we've got an open door policy. Actually, our door says private office, do not enter, but that's from people just coming in whenever, not to talk to us, just to make phone calls and whatnot. But you're always welcome to stop by, ask questions. We truly mean that, like, we're having an open door policy with people. Come by all means. Let's chat about what you're working on, what you need help with, that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's just start over here. And if you'll tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Tyler. I am actually applying for my license today.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I came Monday, met with Eva, and came yesterday for the team meeting.
Mhm.
And I had another brokerage I was going to meet with today, but then after kind of thinking about it last night, after the team meeting, here I am.
Welcome. That's exciting.
Yes, sir.
So you took the test and all that already?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah, it's been kind of I was hoping to start a little sooner, but and it knocked me off like 3 weeks. Yeah, sick. I mean, obviously I wasn't sick for 3 weeks, but yeah, just sick.
Oh, that was rough. I'm sorry.
Over here for helping. So
Absolutely.
I,
Nice.
I too kind of have the same, I guess, thing. I have kind of
Yeah. Makes sense. I'll make it so the Zoom crew can see you. Oh, come on. We all can be on it. What's your name?
My name is Jen. I've been here for
Nice.
and I really know.
I can turn it. Nice. Well, welcome. And what'd you do before this?
Before this, I was a community medical care for
Okay. Yeah.
and I run on things.
All right. Yeah. Well, welcome. Yeah.
My name is Carlos, been here just about a week, so
Mhm.
I just come many people in the street.
Yeah.
And after talking about each other.
Awesome. Exciting. Glad to have you guys here.
Hey, I'm Jeff. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Jeff.
I am retired from retirement.
Okay. Nice.
That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. Sold the world, working with and I bought my first house here in Denver. He brought me on board. I needed to change.
Yeah.
From the grind of the solar world. It's a great world. There's a lot of cool stuff happening out there and a lot of amazing things.
Yeah.
But it has an expectation of a certain amount of there's a better
Yeah.
So I'm jumping on board to try and make that happen.
Yeah.
Right now, I think I'm going to be just my own private solar business. But one that needs assisted leverage.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think two things that you touched on there are pretty key. One being that your ROI in real estate can be huge. I mean, if you guys, and I'll address everybody on the computer as well. If you guys want to speak up, I see some new faces on there. I see some older faces from the office. By all means, if you have questions or things that you want to chime in on, please do. I want this to be kind of a whole conversation with everybody at home and in the office. But two of the things that really strike me with what you said is you can make a ton of money in real estate. And you can kind of go whatever path you want. You said, I'm just going to do it on my own. And that's great. I think that there's a lot of push to join teams. There's a lot of push to, depending on who you talk to about different paths, there's no wrong way to do real estate. And if you do it and you pick something that works for you and you kind of go down that path and stay consistent and treat it like a job, you're going to be fine. You're going to do well. And so we're going to talk a lot about that today. And for those of you who have been in the industry for a little while, consistency is key and sticking to something. And that's really where success comes from. So we'll talk a fair amount about that. So today we're talking about prospecting. Hopefully you get to do that before you came. So we're going to just describe different prospecting methods. We're going to talk about what works. We're going to talk about what doesn't. We're going to talk about the difference between prospecting and marketing. How it's kind of a two-pronged system as far as growing your business. So there's prospecting is really kind of the nuts and bolts of getting into real estate. And we'll talk about how that differs from marketing and kind of the pros and cons of both. So let's see. I believe you guys have probably all seen, and if you're following along at home, I apologize, you can't see the screen. Actually, let me see if I can move this over to here. Walk around a little bit. Let's see if you can see the screen there. There we go. That's probably a little better if you're at home. So hopefully you guys have seen this graph before, or not a graph, but this page. Has everybody seen this? Do you understand the ideas behind it?
It's got to be in MREA.
Yeah, it is.
It's like page 140.
Yep. Yeah, and the whole idea is that, your prospecting and marketing is where you're finding folks here. They're going down into this giant funnel, and leads, they're coming in as leads from those two sources. You're tracking them, you're talking to them, you're trying to get them on the phone, you're trying to connect, whether you've already spoken to them before through prospecting or they found you through marketing. This is where you're trying to get in touch with them. After that, they're contacts. Once they're contacts, you're cultivating them. And so once you've actually spoken with someone, you're moving them down this pipeline. And that's the connected line right here. You're cultivating, you're interacting, you're touching them, you're trying to provide value to their life. Because I always say, everybody knows 10 realtors. Like if the people you're talking to were to talk to their friends or put it out there, hey, on Facebook, who do I know who's a realtor? Everybody's connected probably with 10. How are they going to pick you? Why are they going to pick you? How are you going to stay in touch with them to stay top of mind? That's all through this cultivation piece. And so you'll hear more about this later on, not in today's class. Today's class is really about the lead section and getting the leads into your funnel. But this section is going to be huge as well. And so that's your drip campaigns. That's your smart plans. That is all of the things that Command helps you do. That's creating an audience on Facebook and communicating with that. And then from there, your main goal is to get appointments. I mean, your job as an agent is to prospect and get leads, bring them to appointments so that you can get them active, under contract, and closed. And then you go back up to the top. And so this cycle is always churning. And what we're going to talk about today is all the way up here in number 1. So we're really starting at the top of the funnel. Any questions on that? does that make sense with what everybody understands real estate to be? It's not as sexy, I think, as a lot of people think, and what you'll find is success comes through TDM and boredom. We always say that. It's not always the super exciting things that make you successful. Sticking with it after it gets a little old, it gets a little boring.
Can I just say something to that?
Yeah.
You know, I've been in the design world for a long time, and in the world that I came from, a lot of designers make a mistake that they need to recreate the wheel every time so that they can be really special for their client. And one thing that struck me in the MREA was, let's stick with the foundational model that you have and allow your creativity to come around that. You start with creativity. There's a triangular diagram in the MREA where creativity is the high point of this triangle, and then your models are down below that, and there's a wide base. If you flip that over and you try to stand a triangle on its point, then you're standing on the point of creativity, it's going to topple over, and it's not going to be able to like sustain itself.
Yeah.
So that's one critical thing that drew me in, is that I'm tired of trying to recreate the wheel all the time and create something super special and unique. And what I really need is something that is mass produced.
Yeah. And
I'll stop talking.
no, I appreciate that. And you're right. I mean, there's 150 things that you could do in real estate. When you're brand new, that doesn't mean you should do 150 different things. That we're going to talk about 4 or 5 proven prospecting methods today. Until you guys have spent a lot of time on those, I recommend that you don't dive into anything new and crazy. You've got the time to figure out kind of your exact niche long term. But I would say start out with things that make sense and that are easy. Give them all a shot, and you'll find some things you love, some things you hate. And the ones that you hate, don't do them anymore. The ones that you love, do them well and do them better than the person next to you or the other people in the room. We always talk about, and KW is big on this, like if you're really good at these things, only do these things. Society will tell you if you're bad at these, to work on them and become a well-rounded individual. That's BS. You'll never be as good as someone who's really good at these things. It's going to take you longer. It's going to take you more time. It's going to be more frustrating. Your work product is not going to be as good, and you're going to burn out. And so rather than that, work on things you're great at and don't do the things you're terrible at if you don't have to. And we'll jump in. I'll tell you more about that when we get into the specifics of the prospecting. So message and method. We'll talk about this as kind of a 2-pronged system, or the 2 M's. Your message is kind of the marketing piece of it. And it's, matching your market, making an offer, you'll have your target audience, all that. And then your method is kind of how you do it. So you're going to figure out who you are and what you want to say to people. That's your method. Because if I try to talk to people who aren't part of my core group or aren't part of my demographic I'm going after, my message is just it's going to miss it. And so you need to figure out a little bit of who you are and who you want to work with and what that looks like. And then you'll see number 2 there, or I guess it's here. You make an offer to folks, and it's either a direct offer or an indirect offer. A direct offer would be something like, hey, give me a call and we can talk about real estate. And an indirect offer would be a bit more vague. Stop by our website if you ever find anybody who wants to buy or sell a home. And so you'll see that there's a couple of different ways of offering to people. But then how do you get this message out there? That's where prospecting comes in. That's your method. And so prospecting and marketing are the 2 prongs of getting your message, or the method of getting your message out there. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So there's 3 steps of that. You're going to prepare, you're going to take action, and then you're going to maintain it. But so when we talk about prospecting, when we talk about reaching out to people, it's not just let's fall into it. We once had somebody that we worked with who I talked to him about what he was doing to get leads and how he was communicating with people. And I kid you not, he said, oh, I just go out and walk around and run into people and have conversations about real estate. Our relationship in real estate on our team ended pretty quickly after that. This isn't let's just go see what happens and hope that it works sort of career. You got to spend some time, and you got to spend a little bit of energy on figuring out who you want to talk to, how you want to get your message out there and what your message is going to be. And just walking around hoping that you run into people that you know is not a viable prospecting method. Questions on this slide?
Are these slides available for us to look at?
Yeah.
I downloaded the PDF that was attached to the Facebook meeting was, because it's good.
Okay.
It's not very complicated. Like teachers and
Yeah. So check out KW Connect. It's got all the resources for all of this.
Awesome.
So let's dive in a little bit more to marketing versus prospecting. Without diving too far into this, what do you guys think about marketing versus prospecting? Like, what comes to mind outside of this slide with the two, with the differences?
Carry out the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, marketing is definitely going to be a lot more money intensive. Prospecting is going to be a lot more time intensive. What else?
Well, like marketing, I mean, marketing something you could, you know, make a Facebook ad or make flyers and, you know, deliver them to doors or, you know, whatever. So that when you're at home, you know, people are kind of looking at those things. You know, you're not necessarily working, but when you're prospecting, you're, you know, calling people. Make those contacts and make those connections rather than kind of, yeah, I guess paying for a marketing scheme or paying for or not scheme, I guess.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's marketing, again, goes back to money a little bit more than time, and tends to be a bit more active, right? And kind of like this says, marketing tends to be a bit more passive. You can let something run kind of in your place as opposed to you physically doing it.
More like you gotta do it one time, I guess, in marketing.
Yeah.
That rather than continually calling.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody on Zoom? Anything? No? Nobody has any differences there to interject? Okay. The other pieces that I want you to gather from this slide is that, similar to what we were talking about earlier with the triangle, look at the way that this triangle is oriented and look at what's on the bottom. Prospecting needs to be your foundation. I think a lot of people get into real estate thinking that they're going to market a ton, and that's how they're going to get their clients. Marketing, you have a lot less control over the result and the outcome. You're just putting stuff out there. You might be mailing things to people. You might be, you know, putting things on the internet. You might be running ads on TV or on the radio once you start making a lot more money. There's no real way to say this many people heard it, that many people came from it. I mean, you can track numbers of who calls in, you can use codes, and you can do things like that. But it's just kind of a like put it out there and hope for the best. And if there's any marketing degree people in here, I'm sorry for saying that. I'm sure that there's people that would disagree with me, but when you go and you knock on doors, you know how many doors you knocked on, how many people you talked to, how many contacts you got. And then when we go back to that other slide of putting people through the funnel, you can count the numbers of people and where they went exactly in those stages. If you put an ad on Facebook, you can't do that same thing, you know? And so the last piece is when you're brand new to real estate, you don't have a ton of money and you shouldn't be spending a ton of money on these things. Prospecting is a great way to get started, basically for free. And we'll talk again about how we do that. And so your foundation needs to be prospect. And then on top of that, you can enhance it with marketing. Questions about that? Does anybody think I'm off? And it's fine if you do. I am not afraid of people telling me I'm wrong. It happens constantly. So, anybody think I'm wrong? No. Okay. Let's talk specifically a bit about prospecting then. So actually, before I jump into this, what types of prospecting come to mind for you guys? And let's hear from some folks at home as well. When we talk about prospecting, what methods of prospecting do you guys think of?
Database calling.
Sorry, say that again.
Door knocking.
Absolutely. Door knocking is a good one. And it's one that we're going to talk about today.
Calling your database.
Calling your database is going to be number one. Absolutely. I love it. What else?
Reach out on social media to every single person you possibly can.
Yeah. And I think the key there is not just putting something on your face or like on your Facebook, but reaching out to them, like having a conversation, having an active conversation with them versus the marketing side, which is, hey, look at me, I'm in real estate, call me if you need anything. But yeah, I think that when you think of prospecting, it needs to be a conversation.
Open houses.
Open house is a good one as well, and we'll definitely go over that today. And there's 100 different ways to do open houses, and that's part of what we want to go through today is that a lot of these prospecting methods, within them, there's a ton of different ways to do it, and there's people who have success doing very different things at open houses. What about here? Anybody have any?
Yes, for example.
Yeah, other prospecting
Yeah,
methods.
Cold calling.
Yeah. Sorry, say it one more time.
Cold calling.
Cold calling. Yep. Yep. And then volunteering in here. I love that one.
PTA, schools,
Yeah.
parents.
Mhm. Yeah. And he said PTA, sports, parents, networks. I think that what you'll find is that there's a couple types of prospecting. There's going to be very direct, like I'm here for this conversation of prospecting. I'm knocking on your door. You're coming to my open house. We know that we're going to be talking about real estate. And then the examples that we each got are a little bit more indirect prospecting, you know, and I think volunteering can fall into that sometimes too, where you're putting yourself in a situation or in a place where you're meeting people and they don't know that you're meeting them for real estate, but you do. And you're not being annoying about it. You're not just walking through a room at a PTA and handing out cards, but you're engaging in conversation and you're using what's called the Ford method. And you'll learn about that in another class, but it's family, occupation, recreation and dreams. And so it's just that you lead people through these conversations to kind of get into a deeper conversation, and real estate always comes out. And when you lead them through this conversation, it's a great way just to figure out where they're at in life and figure out if you can be of assistance in real estate. So let me switch back over. And so they divide it into kind of phone and face-to-face. So I am spilling. I knew I would. Starts with listings without agency. And so these are going to be reaching out to people who either have for sale by owners or expired listings. And there are teams and groups, there are agents out there who have only ever done this. They've only ever done for sale by owners and expired listings.
Is
And
that like reaching out to for sale by owners?
Yep.
Try to, hey.
yeah, like, so that's,
Any representation.
yeah, going through Zillow and pulling up for sale by owners. There's a website for salebyowner.com. It's going through there and it's just saying, hey, I see that your house is for sale without an agent. Like, would you be willing to talk? And there are 100 scripts around this. There's a script of, I've got a buyer who's interested in your house. Can I come take a look at it and see if it'll be a good fit? There's an agent in the office who just does for sale by owner open houses. And he's picked up $1 million listings because they get sick of trying to sell it on their own. And he's there every weekend holding an open house for them. And so when they finally decide that they want to sell their house to a professional, they just call him. And so it's not the hard sell of, hey, use me as an agent. It's how can I add value to your life? How can I help you? And would it help you if I held your house open? Try to get more traffic in here. Did prospecting for your house specifically so that I can bring a buyer to it. And then when they want to sell, they just use him. Expired listings is the other one. So you tried to sell your house with an agent, and for one reason or another, that agent wasn't able to sell your house. And so here's how I want to tell you that I'll do better. We will talk about scripts in this. You can't go into these calls without knowing your scripts. And you can't go into these calls just kind of bumbling, because you know that these folks are getting a lot of calls from agents. And you have to be on it. You have to know where your value is, and you have to know what you're going to say before you get on that call. Otherwise, you'll never get that appointment. And so scripting is going to be a big part of what we talk about today. So after those two, you've got circle prospecting. And circle prospecting is usually, does everybody know that term, or does anybody know that term?
It's basically a spot prospect. So you get an open house at this address, you draw a circle around a certain diameter of that, you're gonna get all those addresses.
Yep. Absolutely. So for those of you at home that didn't hear it, you're picking a location. Usually it's an open house or a listing or something like that. You're drawing a circle around it. You're reaching out to everybody in that circle. And so this is more of geographic farming is another term that people use for it, but that's more of a long-term play. But basically you're going to neighborhoods, apartment complexes, recently sold listings, recently listed properties, and you're reaching out to neighbors and you're messaging something to them. Be it, hey, your neighbor's house just sold for $100,000 over asking. What would you do with an extra $100,000? I could get that for you. How would that change your life? It could be, and I love this one, and I don't feel like anybody does it well. Going to some of these apartment buildings and these high rises right now where people are paying just a stupid amount of rent. And let's say they're paying $3,000.
Drink it. Yummy. Good job.
Assuming that someone's paying like $3,000 a month in rent, getting something printed out that said, here's what $3,000 will get you in the real estate market right now monthly, and showing them $450,000, or I guess that would be like a $500,000 or $550,000 house, and saying, look at these 3 homes. You could live there with this yard in this neighborhood instead of in this giant apartment building. And you could be earning, you know, the appreciation instead of throwing your money away, helping increase your net worth.
That's kind of where I came from. I came from multi-family, leasing manager, leasing consultant, leasing manager, assistant manager. And I was constantly blown away, especially once I started trying to get my license and do my classes instead. No, I mean, rarely does an agent come into the office and say, you know, hey, can I hold a can I bring coffee and donuts in for your residents? Can I, come and talk to your residents for 15 minutes? Can I send out an email and say, anything like that? That was something that I really was surprised at, especially once I started kind of getting into the real estate, of course, stuff that, I was at luxury A properties all around downtown.
Yeah.
People paying, $35, $45, $5,500, and it's like, that's something that I really never saw.
And no one's prospecting to those people.
No.
No one is saying, what if we turned your rent into a mortgage and helped you build wealth? What would your life look like? And so it's absolutely a prospecting goldmine if you're just looking for buyers. Recently sold listings, we talked about that. If I could get you an extra $100,000, what would that do for your life? Recently listed properties. And this is a great way to circle prospect when you have an open house or you're doing an open house and you say, hey, we're going to be holding an open house at your neighbor's place. It's listed for X. You should just stop by and see what your house how it would compare. They're selling for $550,000. Do you think yours would go for $600,000? Why don't you stop by the open house and come check it out? It's a great way. Neighbors at open houses are gold mines. That's where you can pick up entire neighborhoods of listings if you do open houses correctly. So community outreach, we talked about volunteering, charity. That is a great way just to increase your group of people that know, like, and trust you. And someone had said calling your database. In order to successfully call your database, you have to have a good database. And you have to have a good group of people who already know, like, and trust you. We talk about that all the time on our team at Bring Home Denver. That should be your number one always, is the people who know, like, and trust you. And if you don't have a big database here in Denver, no problem. My business partner moved to Denver, barely knew anybody when we started doing real estate together. He was rookie of the year in his first year. And you know how he did it? By growing his database. And so look at charities, look at volunteer work, churches, groups. I just talked to a guy yesterday who he wants to get in with the golfing community. and get to know golfers, and that's going to be his niche in real estate. I know people who only work with mountain biking people. And so they go to every mountain biking club and all the mountain bike races and all of the mountain bike things because they love to mountain bike. That's prospecting. And he's just intentional when he's there and has conversations about it. And so that community outreach can look like whatever you want it to. Absolutely volunteering and charity is great. I also want you to think about what your interests are and how to leverage those interests to just get to know more people. So key relationships. This is something that I've seen people do well, but again, similar to the renters, I don't see it a lot. Corporations. So my wife she's an attorney and she used to work at the public defender's office. And we have closed probably 50 or 60 deals from the public defender's office. We're just the attorneys, or we are the agents that work for those attorneys. And they know us, and it's just a self-perpetuating group that constantly comes back. I had one of them email me yesterday and say, hey, you helped us buy this house a couple of years ago. We want to sell and buy again. And that'll be, number 62. But once you get in with the corporation, then you're in. And there's some strategies around that. Like when someone would buy with us, we'd take a bottle of wine. Let's say someone in the office would refer someone, which happened all the time. We would take them a bottle of wine in our Bring Home Denver wine bag in a suit. We'd take it into the office so that everybody would see us dressed up nice, delivering wine. And then after we leave, people would say, who's that? Why'd they bring you wine? And then everybody's talking about you. And so being very visible with how you work with these groups is important. The other one is go to big corporations that VF, I think, that's the North Face and all that moved here a couple of years ago. I guarantee you there were agents that called corporate at North Face and said, hey, do you guys have a relocation agent that you guys recommend or refer? And here's our portfolio. Here's why you want to work with us. When you're coming into town, here's the benefits we're going to give all of your employees. Here's how we're going to work with you. Here's how we're going to make sure that they're well taken care of and that they get great housing. I'm sure corporations love that. When they're relocating and they can say, here's a group of agents that we recommend. I know that you got to buy a house, give them a call. Builders is another one. There's an agent in the office specifically that I can think of who gets all of the builders up in the northern neighborhood. And she crushes. And it took about 1.5 years of holding their new builds open every weekend for them before they actually started giving her the sales. And so when I say, don't just try everything, you're going to pick a few things that work for you and you're going to dive into them. But she gets all the new builds in a certain neighborhood now because she put in the time and made that a goal of hers. Banks, same thing. I mean, Chase, how many mortgages does Chase do every single month? And if you made a good relationship with a mortgage broker at Chase, or even just a wealth manager who gets a bunch of clients who need somewhere to put their money, and they start referring people to you, that could be a gold mine. Third-party data companies, same thing. Investors. The other one that I don't see on here is attorneys. We do a lot with probate attorneys, so when someone dies, and divorce attorneys. And so figuring out when you're looking at basically changes of life, when people have kids, when people are getting married, when people are getting a divorce, when people are dying, those are when people need to make a move. And so figuring out who those key players are in those life changes and prospecting to them and building relationships with them and building rapport with them, and building some prospecting and marketing pieces around that specifically. So the last 5 are teaching and speaking opportunities, meals. There's a great book out there called Never Eat Alone. And it's the idea that just invite people into your world. If you're going out to have lunch, invite someone, have a conversation with them, connect with them. Make it a goal to have coffee with people 3 times a week, but Never Eat Alone, great book. I encourage you to read it. Door-to-door canvassing, we're going to talk pretty in depth about that. Networking events is another one that I think people normally comes to mind right away. Those can be kind of hit or miss, but I think it's good to get out there and see if you can meet some folks at networking events specifically. Booths and kiosks. I know folks who just do bridal shows and bridal events, and they get the whole list of everybody who's getting married, and they just prospect to people getting married because they know that they're going to buy a house within the next year. And then walk-ins, which are, for the sake of this, I think they're talking about people who walk in the door here. or you walking into commercial places. I mean, I know people who will just go and put their cards at different places or put brochures, different places around town. I don't personally know how successful that is, but it's definitely a method. So that was a lot. What stuck out to you guys? Which ones sounded like they could be good?
For me, what really stuck out to me was offering to do an open house for FISBOs. I would have never even thought of that. I think that's super creative.
Yeah, and the agent that does that in the office, he's picked up multiple multi-million-dollar listings. And these listings are getting calls nonstop from people who are saying, hey, let me help you sell your house. Hey, let me list it for you. Let me show you how I can get you more money. But he's just there every weekend holding it open. And in the meantime, guess what kind of buyer he's picking up? $1 million buyers that are coming through to see the house. And then when finally they say, look, we're sick of this, we can't do it on our own, they hire him.
If you're hosting an open house for FISBO, their house is not on MLS.
Correct, yeah.
Can you put it?
You cannot. And so you can't put anything on the MLS without an agency agreement.
Okay.
The MLS is very clear about that, and the state of Colorado regulates that.
How do you like promote the house?
So you'll promote it through your Facebook. You'll promote it to your sphere. You'll circle prospect, either door knocking or calling the neighbors. It can be on Zillow, and so you can also share that link. And then you're going to put a ton of open house signs all over to draw people in. So you're going to get street traffic. You're going to get people who are on Zillow. You're going to get your sphere and the people that you know, and then the people from them, because you're putting it on your Facebook and you're advertising. And then hopefully you're going to get neighbors. Yeah. What else stood out to you guys? Which other ones?
Apartment complexes.
Yeah.
We never talked about
Yeah.
that, but that
Yeah, apartment complexes can be a gold mine, and what you're going to see is as the market shifts, nobody really wants buyers right now, everybody wants listings. So nobody's focusing on buyers. But if one or two of you started going to the Spire and the Glass House and holding a once a month or even once every 6 month how to buy your first home event, where you bring in coffee and cookies and you give a quick half-an-hour presentation about what it looks like to become a home buyer. You bring a lender with you to talk about the lending side. You guys just answer questions. You just have a quick conversation with people. You do that and you become the person who does that in those locations. This market shifts and everybody wants buyers. Guess who's going to be just sitting fat? It's going to be the people who already have that rapport built with those people who are renters and who have money.
Why do people not want buyers, right?
It's because it's a seller's market. And I guess I shouldn't say they don't want buyers, but they just aren't sought after as much because every house has 10 buyers who are trying to buy it. So we're in a very, very heavy seller's market. Everybody wants the listing because it sells right away. Buyers are harder to get under contract. The market will change. I don't know if it'll be in a year or 5 years, but the market will change in a way where the buyers have the upper hand and everybody wants a buyer because everybody has listings that are just sitting. And when that happens, the people who have been building this rapport with the apartment buildings, assuming that they'll let you, they may not, they're going to be doing great. If the apartment building doesn't let you, then you just send mailers to everybody in the apartment building and you hold the event next door at the bar. You don't have to get permission from the apartment building to reach out to the clientele there. They just may not let you physically host it on their grounds.
Or like when they have renters, then they lose their,
Say that again.
they lose their client.
Exactly. Yeah, so they're losing renters when you are pulling folks out. And so it may be tough finding luxury buildings that are willing to let you host it at their building. Also, they may not let you door knock at the building. So you may just have to mail to them. But if you send a mailer to people, once a month for a year, you're going to pique their interest, I promise. Anything else stand out?
I like the tent and
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And so she'd said tents at events and just being a presence where people are either in your niche of the things that you enjoy or they're going through life changes. And so either the bridal events or if you're into mountain bike racing, I'll use that example again, you sponsor a mountain bike race and you put up a tent there. Awesome. Anything else?
What stood out to me was the the attorneys for like divorce and all that stuff. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, attorneys are huge. Unfortunately, they're the ones who need to be involved when there's big life changes. And so death, divorce, that kind of stuff, attorneys can absolutely help with that. And so I really want you guys to think about life changes, because what drives life changes in people's lives? Kids, divorce, like we talked about, death, marriage. These are events when people need to make housing changes. Kids going off to college. I bet you that there's a way out there to buy lists of like recently, like people who are empty nesters and marketing to them. The other one is when people are going into retirement homes. And so if you could get on board with a retirement home and become their specialist and call it like a transition specialist, where when someone is moving out of their home and they're moving into the retirement home, I know that there are agents who do this and do this well. And when someone needs to sell their house, when they're moving into a retirement home, you get to sell it for them.
Is that reaching out to the retirement home themselves?
Yep. Yeah, and building a relationship with them. Yeah. And so that goes back to the corporation. So again, I'll encourage you to think about life changes, because that's when real estate happens.
I like the independent builders.
Yeah.
And offers open houses. Yeah,
Yeah.
the EH ordinance and whatnot, we're gonna have their teams established with them and whatnot, but there are definitely small time independent builders out there that, you know, if you can get in that network and with like NAHB and whatnot, boy, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. And so if you guys didn't hear, he was saying independent builders and people who are, you know, the DH ordinance are a little bit harder to get into, although you can. Somebody did. Somebody's selling their houses. And so building that relationship for when they win or if they screw up absolutely can happen. But independent builders are going to be a little bit easier to get in with. Investors are another one that we kind of brushed past, but the investor route is another one to get in with independent builders, where if you're bringing them properties, they're probably going to list with you. And if you say, hey, here is a great lot in a really good neighborhood where the house needs to be scraped, who wants to build on it? When you build that house, I'm going to be the one who sells it for you. And that's a condition of you bringing the deal to them. But I know people who are very successful at that as well. Okay. Let's jump back in here. So we're going to take a deep dive into these 4 methods. So today we're going to talk about door knocking. One that we didn't even mention on the last one is agent to agent referrals, open houses, and social media. So does anybody use any of these methods right now? Yeah, what do you guys use? Open houses?
Open houses and door knocking.
Okay. Yeah, how have they been?
And social media.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about how to prospect with social media so much, but if you're talking about Messenger, Facebook, right? You're doing the back and forth, basically doing a text conversation.
Yeah.
With someone, I guess that's what you mean by that. Open houses, definitely, which are great. Door knocking, you know, if you do the numbers about how much time you spend, pick blocks that have smaller lots, so there's more doors to hit in a shorter period of time to walk on, you can find the real hit rate pretty high, pretty fast. And then if you start a relationship, a conversation, you walk away, you might have some solicitations, right? But the ones that you actually get to the board talking, learn those 4 things, their name, their number, your email address, maybe a birthday you get, or you build your database very fast.
Yeah. Yep. Anybody else use any of these?
I do a lot of social media.
Social media? Yeah. What specifically do you do?
So at least once a week, if I'm going to do an open house, like I start showing pictures of the house and I say, what would you change? And people vote like, oh, I would change this, the color. And then Friday or Saturday, I say, you know, come and see if this one was right for you, things like that. So like midweek, I, you know, prepare people and then I invite them to the open house if they're Saturday or something.
Nice. Yeah. So did you guys hear that at home? I'll just recap. But essentially, what she's saying is that she will put something on a house online and say, if you could change one thing about this house through these 4 pictures, would it be the kitchen or the bathroom or paint or the yard? And people will vote. And then she'll say, come by the open house and see if you like it and invite people to it. The one caveat that I will say with posting anybody else's pictures online is you have to have a written agreement from them and making sure that that they say that you can post their material online. But yeah, I think that's great. Any way that you can engage people, and we'll take a deeper dive into that. So let's jump into number one, door knocking. And this is probably the least used prospecting method that we're going to go over today. It's also probably the least used correctly in my mind. And so we're going to talk about kind of the 4 steps here. And before I jump in, you talked about door knocking and hitting house or blocks that have lots of houses on them and getting information from them. What other methods do you guys have? When I say door knocking, what comes to mind? And at home, feel free to jump in as well. What comes to mind?
Literally.
Yeah, knocking on the door, like just going one house to another.
I guess I always think about door knocking as like, growing up as, with your family or whatever, you got people come to your house, knock on your door, it's like, who's here, who's here? I grew up in a really small town, so like people knocking on your door wasn't so strange, but like since I moved to the city, it's been like, if somebody knocks on your door, it's like, who the hell is here? Like,
Yeah.
knocking on my door.
It's a little unnerving.
Yeah, it's unnerving for the person doing the door knocking, but it's also like the person in the home is like, I feel like that's definitely lost. Kind of thing. You don't see your neighbors too much coming over knocking on your door saying, hey, have you moved in?
Yeah.
Even, I live in an apartment now. Like, I met my neighbor one time, but like, I have 2 other people on my sides, and I couldn't tell you their name. You don't see them, you don't necessarily go with them, you don't necessarily go with them, but yeah, it's definitely a different. I don't know if it's the city, but that was something I noticed a lot one time. From 3,500 people to, 1 million people, it's a lot.
Yeah. And so he's saying it's kind of a lost art. You don't talk to your neighbors anymore. You don't see people out as much. And I forget who the quote is from, but somebody said the automatic garage door opener was the single most destructive thing to communities. And I'm paraphrasing here. It's not the exact quote, but it's the idea that you can just hit your garage door opener, drive into your garage, close your garage door, and go into your house. You never have to see your neighbors anymore. And unless you make an intentional effort at going out and meeting those in your community, you never will. So door knocking, it's unnerving for sure. And so there's 2 ways that I see door knocking. And I'll talk about kind of the script here, but the 2 things that I see it is circle prospecting. And so that's door knocking around open houses, inviting people to your open house, or door knocking around an event I've just sold, it just listed, something like that, and just using that as the impetus to have your conversation. And that's inviting people and saying, hey, did you see this house down the streets for sale? How does it compare to yours? Have you thought about making a move? Do you know anybody who wants to move into this neighborhood? Because we find, and this is the script that we use, we find that usually you have friends or family that would like to live closer to you, or you have friends that are looking for a house right now and getting beat out. Do you think this might be a good fit for them? Why don't you give them a call and invite them to our open house this weekend? It would be so great to live near people who you love, right? So that's one. And then the other type of door knocking is you pick a geographic location, 10 blocks right by your house that you can be a part of that community, and you knock on every single door like once a quarter. And you're making yourself the local neighborhood expert. You say, yeah, I live here, I work here, you're my neighbors. I just want to keep you up to date on what's going on with all of our home values. Do you have any questions? Here's a report on our neighborhood, and here's a report on how much homes are selling for. Also, I'm doing this neighborhood event in the next 2 months if you want to come by, or we're going to do a big neighborhood garage sale. And so going in a little bit deep on this one, but if you're going to prospect and farm a neighborhood, I think door knocking has to be a component of that. So this can promote your business by talking to potential clients and provides a chance for you guys to promote open house. We talked about that. Building a farm. And so when we talk about farming a neighborhood, there's more than just being like, hey, I'm the local agent. And there's a couple components. I briefly touched on them, but you need to do neighborhood events. You need to be an active participant in the neighborhood. You probably should sponsor the businesses that are in that neighborhood. you should probably encourage people to go to those businesses. I see people do really, really good highlight videos on their Facebook page where they say, hey, I'm just down here at Little Man Ice Cream. I live right up the street, and I wanted to tell you guys about their summer specials that they have going on. And if you haven't tried their pralines and cream, it is phenomenal. And then you interview someone at Little Man Ice Cream about how they work and blah, blah, blah. You put that on your Facebook page. And people are like, oh, he lives in our neighborhood, or he lives in the neighborhood that I want to move into. He knows about Little Man. He did something at Linger. He did something at Lola, and you become the neighborhood expert by spotlighting somebody else's business and giving back to them. And then the owner of one of those restaurants says, oh yeah, let's use this guy when we go to sell our house. So that's another facet, is working with local businesses. Then you're door knocking and you're saying, hey, I'm not sure if it's on my video. Also, we're going to be doing a neighborhood watch meeting at blah, blah, blah on this day, or we're going to do a block party on that day. And so door knocking is a big piece of that. You have to be out in that community, in that neighborhood. So who's gone door knocking? Who's gone door knocking? Has anybody, you two have? And how did it go? How was the reception? Yeah, what happened?
I don't, people just don't want to talk to you that much when you're like.
Yeah. So she's saying people don't want to talk to you a ton when you come to the door. What else? How did it make you feel?
Like nervous.
Yeah, nervous.
School.
Yep. And how many times have you done it?
I've done like 3 times.
Huh?
There's like some good results, but the new part.
Not your favorite?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will dive into this more, but you got to pick out what works for you. And so I don't want everybody to think that they need to become door knockers from this class. I think everybody should try it. Everybody should circle prospect around an open house. Everybody should consider, what would it look like if I took my home and tried to become the local neighborhood expert? And what would door knocking mean in that kind of in that scenario? And give it a try. But if you don't like it, you don't like it. And what I've found in real estate is, if there's something you don't like, I talked about this earlier, don't do it. I mean, there's going to be things that you have to do, and there's going to be some stuff that's uncomfortable, but there's enough prospecting ideas that if you don't love door knocking, don't make it part of your day-to-day life, because you're not going to keep up on it, and you're going to feel guilty about it, and you're going to do it poorly when you do it. And so if it's not door knocking for you, let's talk about the other 3. But tell me about your experience a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm for that kind of person. So I've been a sales before. So objections are something that I wanted to let you kind of wash past me.
Yeah.
And I just, I try to read the person really quick, and I try to give something very short as a responsive introduction, and ending with a question that forces them to respond.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. And to your point earlier, I tried to give a reason why I'm there. Like, I'm not just showing up and saying, hey, I sell houses. I try to like say, hey, the house just down the street was on sale this last week. He just closed. I have a buyer that tried to get in. There's 6 houses we've been on. We really want to be in this neighborhood. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell their house in the neighborhood? Maybe you, I don't know, but anyone? Yeah, open it up, one talk. Great, thanks so much for your time. Here's my flyer. My name is Jeff. It's a pleasure to meet you. If you've got any questions or thoughts, please give me a call.
Yeah. And so Jeff talked about, if you've got, or one of the scripts that people use a lot when they're door knocking is just talking about, I have a buyer for this neighborhood who just got beat out on the sale over there. Do you know anybody who's selling or who's thinking about making a move, because my buyers are ready to go? They're willing to pay X amount and they're looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath. I noticed that your house is a 3-bed, 2-bath. Have you ever considered selling? We can make this real easy on you. And I've seen that work. I've seen people actually make a printout of their buyers with a little picture of them and with how much they're qualified for, what they're looking for in a house, and what they're willing to pay in their timeline. And they say, I've got they call it like a missing house report. I've got these buyers and they're missing a house and they need one and they want to be in this neighborhood. Who do you know? And so the key that Jeff was saying is, you can't go similar to calling physicals and expireds. You can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, I know that you were trying to sell your house and it didn't sell. Can I sell it? No one's going to say yes. you have to have a compelling reason. You have to bring value. You have to have something to talk about. And so we'll talk about scripts at the end of the class. Scripts suck to do, but scripts are what every successful person does in real estate. You can't get better just by making stuff up in your head every time that's different. You have to know what they're going to say. You have to internalize it, and then you have to put it into your own words. And the only way to do that is to read through scripts. And so everything that I feel like I say these days is scripted because I've said it enough to clients. And I know what I'm going to say, and I know the points that I need to hit, and I've just made it my own words. But they're not really my words. Someone much smarter than me wrote them down, figured out what needs to go on in my brain and their brain to make sure that my message is getting communicated. And I just tweaked it a little bit and put it into my own words. So spend some time on scripts. Anybody at home have anything to add about door knocking?
What would be the best way to door knock for an apartment complex to figure out whether, you know, the management will allow it? Do you contact the property manager of the area? Do you contact like their pet office? What do you do?
That's a great question. And it's going to depend a little bit on your personality. I tend to be a ask for forgiveness kind of person, more than I am a ask for permission. I'm not sure that I'm allowed to say this in here, but go to the place with a bunch of flyers and follow someone in and start door knocking until you get kicked out. Probably won't take very long if you haven't gotten permission. The proper answer is probably just to go and speak to the front desk person and say, hey, I would like to speak with people about home ownership. How would that look? Who do I need to talk to about that? You can call the leasing agent in that office and they'll probably give you someone's number. You're going to find that there's going to be some gatekeepers whose job it is to keep you out and to make sure that you don't do that. And so it's going to be a little bit tricky and it's going to be kind of some schmoozing. The proper way though probably is to show up and speak with whoever is there in the leasing office and talk to them about it. You said you used to work in a leasing office, is that right?
Yeah, for about, like 5 to 6 years.
And you never had anybody come in 5 or 6 years?
No, I had one guy come in, but he was talking to us as employees. It's like, you know, hey, you guys live on property, you guys live in a house, you know, young professionals, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But no, never. And I lived at almost every property I worked at.
Yeah.
So
Was there any policy while you were working there about agents coming in?
no, but as a leasing consultant, like, there's no way in hell I'm letting you.
Yeah, so he's not letting you in.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, I make my money on renewals. I mean, I make my money first on leases, and then, yeah, somebody renewing their lease every month or every year is where I really make my money. So yeah, I don't want you coming there. You know,
Take your
or you know, maybe somebody's not even thinking about mine. But, you know, you show up and you show them some numbers or show them some situations or some you know, things like that, and you know, change their mind.
Yeah,
I go from having, you know, 27 renewals this month to, you know, 10 renewals.
right. So as a leasing agent, he's saying that renewals will be money. If you're taking renewals from him, that's money out of his pocket. And so I think your best bet with those is either you know somebody who lives in the building or get to know somebody who lives in the building and they let you in and you do it a bit more covert. Sliding instead
So
of
even then, like living at those properties, like I live in an apartment now, and I mean I've gotten no mail,
never had
nothing
anything,
on the door.
Yeah.
No,
nothing slid under your door.
no, you get a Chinese, you know, takeout thing, but like no,
Yeah.
yeah, I've definitely I've been pondering some stuff.
Yeah.
I was just kind of thinking about that.
So if somebody can get into the building and slide Chinese menus under your door, you guys can get in and put flyers under the door. You're gonna get some complaints probably, and that's why on this one, it may be easier just to make 200 postcards and mail them to every single unit in there.
And
And
you think you can do more damage? Do you think you can do some damage door knocking rather than doing some good?
no, I think you'll do good. I just think that you'll probably get kicked out.
Yeah.
And if you're okay getting kicked out, I mean, fortune favors the bold. I've been kicked out of condos doing open houses. I've been kicked out of condos door knocking for open houses. They're just gonna kick you out. You say, okay, and then you mail them.
Right.
And so I would say, give it a shot, see what happens. All right, anything else?
When you're firing a mailing thing, can you get that address building or all of it, you know, how many or what numbers. there
Yeah,
are.
absolutely. And a title rep, if you guys don't have a good title rep, you can buy these lists online, or you can have your title rep do it. They can do it for like 2 cents an address. And so they'll give you a whole spreadsheet where you pay, you know, $5 and you get 250 names and addresses. And then you just put postage on those and they'll oftentimes help you mail them. And so Command also does it. I think that you can pull a list into Command and you can do mailers through there, and they'll set it up, they'll mail it out for you and all of that. And so there's a bunch of different ways that's really easy to do mailers. But the first step is talk to someone at Title. Megan Aller, who comes in here and does the classes, is a good one. There's people kind of all over town who are happy to do that. Did you have a question?
So they can pull up, like, you know, say you see, like you mentioned Glass House. You know, we don't know how many units specifically are in Glass House. They can
Oh yeah, they can pull every
pull
single
the whole unit, pull name.
What I was gonna say was, if you're adventurous enough and you're savvy enough on websites, all you have to do is go to your county appraiser's office.
Yeah.
And you can pull mailer lists all the time.
Yeah.
And it's free, you should do it.
It's a little time intensive to pull it yourself off the assessor's office. You absolutely can. I think that your time might be a little bit better spent having a title rep do it
I
for 2
would
cents a
agree with
door.
you 100%, it is a little tedious.
Yeah, but you absolutely can go on. There's voter records is another place, but the assessor office will have, assessor's office is going to have people's like mailing address all the way down. So you
We'll have,
won't know.
we'll have both an owner and we'll have a renter. So, and they'll tell you that.
Okay. So the 3 things you need to know is know your script, know your audience, make sure that you understand what you're going to say when you're door knocking, when someone opens that door. And then you just have to act, go do it, see how it feels, see what kind of objections you get. And then come back and see, and we'll get to this in a minute, look at your numbers. Who'd you talk to? How many conversations? How much contact info did you get? And you know, where are those people going to be in your pipeline versus an open house, or versus some of the other things that we're going to talk about? Because at the end of the day, you need to know where your dollar per hour is best spent. You know, how much money did you make after doing door knocking 10 times versus 10 open houses? And then you're going to do what's most profitable. So add those contacts to your database after you door knock, and make sure that you have smart plans and campaigns to follow up with those people. And you have an actual good plan so that you don't spend all of this time getting all these contacts and never reach out to them again. Okay. The next one is agent to agent referrals. Who here has done this? Or who here has even seen this done well? And sorry, I didn't catch your name earlier. Sydney?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I don't know, just reaching out to like other agents, like letting them do the work for you, but still like, where it's pretty nice, and then it builds a good relationship so they can then come back to you, like pretty easy, like that.
Yeah. So Sydney's saying making relationships with other agents and sending your referrals off to them and letting them send them back to you. What else? Anybody else give this a try? Anybody at home? I know that there's a couple folks who just crush this in our office. Mike Bruce and Sean Ewers are the 2 that come to mind, where they're probably closing 1/3 of their business on agent to agent referral. You'll say, what were you gonna say?
Oh, like, for example, I'm a first generation student, so I'm part of my university's like networking. So like all the professionals that move to Colorado or nearby, I like find agents for them. And also like, because I speak Spanish, there's like Latin and Hispanic communities that you can join them. And if you're involved in them, then they'll send you their referrals.
Awesome. Yeah.
They're referred to.
Yeah. So she's saying through her alumni at our college, there's professional networking groups where you can send referrals and receive referrals from that. And that's a great way to do it. This is more staying top of mind with other real estate agents across the nation. So back when we used to have family reunion, mega camp in person, which hopefully will be coming back again next year. It's a great way just to get to know other agents. It's a great way to reach out to other people. There's networking groups on Facebook, like Keller Williams referral agents, and where you refer business back and forth. The key to this is you pick an agent in, big 5 or 10 cities, and you build a relationship with them, and you build rapport with them. And really, Sean Ewers or Mike Bruce, I feel like could teach a whole class on this. Sean Ewers will highlight an agent on his Facebook page in another city, like once every 2 weeks. And I'll say, hey, if you know anybody who's moving to Dallas Fort Worth, let me brag about, John Doe over in Dallas Fort Worth. He's a great guy. He has 2 kids. He runs a phenomenal business. And if you're ever thinking about getting into real estate with him, here's what I love about his business. And he'll just spotlight someone. You think that John Doe in Dallas Fort Worth likes that free business, that free advertising? You think John Doe in Dallas Fort Worth is going to send a referral to Sean Ewers in Denver when he gets one? Bet your ass he is. I mean, that is a great way to build those relationships. That's just one of like 10 things that he does. But he's built connections all over the nation where when someone says, hey, I need someone in Chicago, Sean goes, oh yeah, I've got a great partner in Chicago and I'm going to send them a referral. And then I'm going to send them a bottle of wine after they close just to thank them for treating my referral so good. And so he spends a lot of time treating another agent in another location as a client. So that when that agent wants to send business back to Denver, he knows who to send it to. And there are enough agents nationwide that do this that Sean isn't going to get them all in Denver. You can start getting them by building those relationships. I get an email from an agent in Dallas, probably once a month, reminding me that he offers a 30% referral fee for anything that we send to him. And I'm going to use him. He sent me a lead not that long ago. And you can do all of this through Command. This one's going to blow your mind. So pay attention. In Command, you can, because everybody now sends their referrals through Command. If you're unsure how to do this, Steve DeLisi can show you. But if you go in and you play around with the referral tab in Command, Command tracks where we're sending referrals. It goes through Command, you find your connection through Command, the money goes through Command. Command knows, it's got the data of where people are referring back and forth. It also knows where migration is happening. So there's a tab under referrals in Command that is a map. And this map, you can put in Denver and you can say, where are referrals coming from? And it will say, last month, 5,000 came from Chicago, 3,000 came from LA, 1,000 came from Honolulu, 500 came from Des Moines, Iowa. You can pick where you want to go and you can say, who's sending these referrals? And it'll say, this person sent 5, this person sent 3, that person sent their first one ever. But the key to that is, and this is 2-pronged, you can reach out to agents in those markets where people are moving to Denver from. And you can start building a business off of the data of where people are geographically moving. The second piece is what would happen if you ran an ad in Chicago on Facebook that said, thinking about relocating to Denver, and this is getting into the marketing side, but using the data that's in Command, finding out where people are moving from and just doing a quick ad and saying, if you're thinking about moving to Denver, let me get you set up on a search right now to show you what houses look like and what they cost in Denver. And you start doing that. Or vice versa, you have a great referral partner in Chicago and you say, hey, I want to make sure that we solidify this relationship and I want to be your referral agent. I'm going to run a Chicago ad for you. And I'm going to say, hey, if you're thinking about moving to Chicago, I know the perfect person. They are successful and they've got a great team and they're able to help you do X, Y, and Z. Let me know if you want to get on their list, or if you want to start seeing homes in Chicago. And you run that just here in Denver and you start sending referrals to that person. There are 100 ways to build referral relationships with other agents in other states. And if you just think a little bit outside the box, like I said, a couple agents in the office, probably 30% of their business is referral business. That they just get a call and the agent says, hey, I want to send you someone, they're going to buy. Here's their name, here's their info. You know what the conversion rate on a referral is? It's more than 25%. And so if you get 4 of those a month, you're closing 1 guaranteed. It's probably closer to 50% if you have great relationships with these people. You know what conversion is on online leads? It's like 1%. If you're lucky, it's like 1 to 2%, and that is usually a year out. So do you want to buy online leads and call them for the next year and have them have 99 of them hang up on you? Or would you rather have an agent who knows you and likes you and trusts you in Chicago, pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm sending 2 people your way this month. Here are their names, here's their timeline, here's what they qualify for. Take good care of them. Which one sounds like easier business to you? So, yeah, make those connections. Go on command, look at the map of where referrals are coming from and start actively looking in those locations for a referral partner. Make some connections, reach out to some people. If you don't even know who to call the team leader in that office in Chicago and say, hey, I need a referral partner here. Who do you think I should talk to? So any ahas here? Anybody at home? Does that strike a chord?
Do referrals need to be necessarily within the family of Shellerwoods?
No, they don't have to be. I think that it's easier because we're encouraged. I'm not encouraged. It's just so easy to send them within KW. You know that you're going to be with a like-minded person. Right. You can track it through command. There's a bit more accountability. Your MCA can talk to their MCA.
There's an infrastructure there.
Yeah, it makes it easier. But I have a college roommate who is a agent down in Colorado Springs, and he's not with KW. Tried my damnedest to get him over to KW, and I will eventually. But I send all my referrals to him. He's a friend. He does a phenomenal job with them. And so, no, it doesn't always have to be within KW.
I'm going to Philadelphia this weekend, and I had a weird situation with the Airbnb. An Airbnb booked. And they contacted me. It was like, we had 2 people in the house this last 2 weeks. They trashed the house, and Airbnb decided to them instead of us. Blah blah. So they're like, we gotta cancel there. So I, ended up reaching out. I was like, it's just me, my mother-in-law. We're really not going to be in the house much. We're not, partying, whatever. So she ends up responding. She goes, okay, well, my husband's a realtor. Let me have him write something up for you. And so I just reached out to him directly. It's like, hey, whether this works or not, I'd love to grab a coffee with you or something. Talk about some stuff and hopefully, build that relationship. Just have somebody out there. It was kind of super random how it worked out, but hopefully it'll end up being.
Absolutely. And I think that, when you travel places, the other thing that I see people do who are successful is they'll go to the local KW office. You're in Miami, stop in, introduce yourself to the team leader. Make a connection there and a face-to-face. Give some business cards out. That bond, even that short of a bond, could set you apart from somebody else.
Have you reached out for referral and like?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you know who, I'm looking at it now, talking about it, and I check on an office, and you're like, I'm.
Yeah, there's tons of people in every office. And so a couple of ways to do it. You can hop on a Facebook page, a referral Facebook page, and ask for a couple referrals. They'll give you names of people that they trust. Or you can call the team leader and say, who's going to take good care of this type of client? You can find the team leader in the white pages there. You can, I think, also see production levels through command.
What if you want to build a relationship now? I don't have a client.
Yeah, that's fine. I think you can pick someone out who does mid-level production and just say, hey, I'm looking to build a relationship with somebody in your city as a referral partner. Do you already have somebody that you refer your business to in Denver? That needs to be a good key question is, are they already sending their referrals to somebody else in Denver? If they are, say, I totally understand. I don't want to step on their toes. I think you should continue to refer them and keep that relationship. I'm looking for somebody that I can partner with. Who would you recommend? And maybe ask that person in the office and they'll pass you on to somebody else. But it's just getting out there and starting to make those connections. I know people who make business cards just for events that they go to, like Mega Camp or Family Reunion, just to give out saying, I would love your referral. Here's how you can reach me. Here's what we pay. And here's how I will return the favor, something like that. Some people are very intentional about this. It becomes a large part of their business. So before we move on, any ahas from home? Nothing?
How quickly are those that have that being 30% of their business? How quickly are they able to get that? up and running?
I think it took a year or two, although if 30% of their business is 3 deals. But these guys do, 30 plus deals a year.
Yeah.
And so they're getting 10 to 15 referrals every year. That's real money.
More than one a month.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. All right, well, let's move on then. Open houses. So open houses is the one that everybody loves to do. Sure, if you've been in real estate for any amount of time, not if you're brand new getting your license today or anything like that, but this tends to be the first prospecting method that everybody does. Is that right? And who in here has done an open house? Yeah,
I have.
yeah. Awesome. So this one will probably have a lot of feedback on, but what works with you guys when you do an open house? What have you done that you feel like kind of set you apart?
I partnered with local companies that have given me my product for free and instead of not actually
Say that again, the last part.
it's kind of like water,
Okay.
it's something a little different.
Yeah.
It also is brand advertising for that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so she said that she has partnered with a local drink company and, brought the drinks to the open house, got the free product, and basically it's advertising for them and it's advertising for you. And it's something nice to give out to people when they come in.
I actually have a company dropping out the product in the office
Nice.
Friday.
Yeah.
So that other people can do it as well.
Yeah, so
Or drink it themselves.
yeah, they're dropping off some product in the office on Friday. So if you guys want to try it, but yeah, that's great. Finding a vendor to match with, and then you're both advertising the open house because they want to get the word out about their product. You want to get the word out about their house. So yeah, I think that's great. What else has set people apart at open houses?
I actually partnered with a lender as well, who came and he helped advertise and door knock.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of lenders out there that are hungry to earn your business and to earn business at open houses because it's the same gold mine for them with buyers walking in. So find a lender. They'll make great flyers. They'll put it on their Facebook page. They'll come. We'll talk about the financing piece. Lenders can be a really good addition to open houses. Absolutely. What else?
Atmosphere.
What do you mean about atmosphere?
What do you do? How do you set that house up? So when you're showing, it's a pleasant experience.
How do you do it?
Viewing music, viewing candle in the room. People walk around, there's no strawberry. So having something on there just kind of covers up some of that stuff. And then just giving people space, let them explore, using something like a survey. I use a survey in my open houses. So that you can walk the door and say, hey, thank you so much for coming. Seller really wants to hear from those that are walking in to see how the house is showing, how it's being presented. You just take a few minutes to fill this out as you're walking through, give us your feedback. Loving it. Thank you.
Yeah. So he's saying doing a survey in the house just to get information about how they like the house, what they think about it. He also said just prepping the house to make it look good, smell good, sound good, so that when people come in, you're hitting all of their senses, and that puts an emotional attachment on the house, rather than if they just walk in and it just looks okay. So I want to break this down into 3 pieces. The first one being prepare. So the first step in an open house is you got to prep for it. And there's a couple different ways you prepare. One is you have to know the house, obviously. You've got to know all the details and all the facts about the house. So if it's not your listing, spend some time with the listing agent. Make sure that you understand everything that's on the MLS about it. Make sure that you walk the house before you have people coming in, so you understand where things are, what things look like. But you need to know the house intimately. The second thing that I think helps more than anything, it's not in here, but it is to know the neighborhood. Because selling the house obviously helps, but your main goal in an open house is not to sell the house. Even if it's your listing, your main, I think they say 1% of home sales happen from people walking in the door, just randomly out of an open house. Your goal in an open house is to get clients. That's why this is the prospecting part of what we're doing instead of the listing side. Your goal is to get the person who's out walking their dog, or coming back from brunch, or driving by and saw your signs, or saw it on Facebook, or saw it on Zillow, to come in and work with you as an agent. And so if you want to convert them, they're probably going to 3 or 4 open houses that day. And they're probably going to get the same pitch from 3 or 4 agents. How are you going to set yourself apart? And one of them is you're going to be the area expert. And so before you do your open house, you need to go to the 3 other closest listings in that neighborhood, and you need to preview them. If you're doing an open house on Saturday, on Friday, set up 3 showings for yourself. The 3 houses that are closest to that one, price and size. And if you're a buyer and you're walking into this, what other houses are you going to walk into the neighborhood? If you don't know that as an agent, you're already on your heels. Because if you walk in, if the client then comes and walks into my open house and they say, this backyard's a little bit small, I'm going to say, oh, did you see the house 2 blocks over? Same price, a little bit bigger backyard. And they say, no, I didn't. And I'm going to say, oh, you have an agent? They're going to say, no, I don't. And I'm going to say, after this, if you want, I can take you over there. I'll set up a showing right now, and I am done here at 2. I'm going to meet you there at 2:15. And they're going to say, yeah, I do. I'd love to see that house. And guess whose client is that? It's not yours, because you didn't know about the house. It's mine. And so if you aren't putting yourself out there as the area expert, someone else is going to, and they're going to get the clients over you. So preview houses, know what else is in the neighborhood, know what things sold for. And it might take you an hour or 2 prior to your open house. But if you aren't adding value the second people walk in that door, why would they pick you? Why would they work with you? So that's number 1, I think, when you're prepping. And there's a guide under page 8 for you guys to fill in. I don't think that we're going to go over that right now in detail. But you got to prep. Once you get to the house, you have to prep. Open all the windows if it's warm out, or if it's okay temperature out. Open all the blinds so it's nice and bright. Put on music. Put things away that shouldn't be out. When you get there, your computer and your bag and your coffee and all your shit doesn't need to be laying around. It's not helping anything. It's not making you look professional. Make sure that you're there on time. Make sure that you have your signs out half an hour before. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people going up to an open house and it's closed up because they forgot to get there early enough to put out signs. Or the agent took the key with them when they put out signs, and now you can't get in for your showing. Make sure that you're not running late at open houses. Be professional at it. But your goal there is to collect info and be the area expert. And so prospecting is the second piece. When people come to the house, how are you getting their info? It has never been easier in real estate to get people's info when they come to an open house. We have the largest excuse to collect info that we've ever had, and that's COVID. And it's so easy to say, look, our office requires for contact tracing and just for safety that you just give your name and info when you come to the house. And you have a little sign-in sheet. You can get fancy. There's apps out there where you can print out a QR code and they can do it on their phone. There's an app for your computer or your iPad called Open Home Pro. And you can use that to have people sign in. And you can put pictures in, you can put questions in as about how they found the house and all that. There's 150 different ways to collect people's info when they come to open houses. One of the things they talked about here is do a raffle. I'm going to raffle off this Starbucks gift card. So if you leave your information, there's only been 4 people here. You've got a 25% chance of getting this gift card. There's 100 different ways to get people's info. But if you just spent 5 hours, 7 hours working on an open house and 10 people came through and you didn't get anybody's info, you just threw away 10 hours of your life. Maybe you got some goodwill on Facebook by putting the post out there. But if you're prospecting and you're not actually prospecting, you're wasting your time. And so when people come in, you need to get their info. Yeah,
When agents come in,
agents are a little different, I would say.
like, I've had some very different responses from nice and they write their name and they say they're agent to Gary Cruz and I've only been here 3 weeks.
Yeah, and you're gonna find this across the board with prospecting. Some people are nice, some people are assholes, and that's just
Yeah.
life. And so you can't let the assholes get you down. There's going to be rude agents in every single thing you do, and you just take it on the chin and let them go on. You know, I think that that's unfortunately part of sales. That's part of what we deal with day in, day out. If an agent doesn't want to sign your book, don't make them. I mean, there's going to be agents who, and really, if someone's coming through with their clients, I don't make them sign in because they're not a prospect, they're not a lead for you, and so you don't need their contact info. If an agent wants to give you a card instead, great. But the people who come in unrepresented, I think you can say to them, look, you didn't set up a showing. I've tracked them because they set up a showing through Showing Time. They're an agent, I know who they are. But for you, I apologize. I just have to get your info. Or sellers requiring that everybody that comes in gives their contact info. You can say whatever you want about it. It doesn't matter. But if you're not collecting their info, you're wasting your time. One of the things that I like to, a little trick that I like to do that I got from another agent is oftentimes when you're having good rapport, talking with someone, with a prospect as they're coming through your open house, you'll say, oh, are you looking in the neighborhood? And they'll say, yeah, just considering what it would look like to live here. We're just browsing or blah, blah, blah. They don't want to give you their info. They don't want to give you their email specifically. I always say, let's say that we're in, again, Lohi. I say, look, I work this neighborhood a lot and I have my finger on the pulse of what's coming on the market. I send a Friday market update to about 25 people. And I just call it the Friday Lohi market update. If you want, I can just throw you on that list. And then you're just getting the same email that these 25 people are getting about what's going on in the neighborhood. Would that be helpful? Because when you're ready to buy, you want to know what things are selling for. You want to know the price. You want to see what inventory is doing. Would that be okay if I just threw you on that list with everybody else? Does that sound pretty non-committing? That sounds a lot less scary than, hey Jeff, let me get your email and I'll email you every Friday personally with everything that hit the market. And you and I will be in direct conversation every week. That's a lot scarier, right? What he doesn't know is that's what I'm doing. There's no Friday market update for Lohi. I'm just putting him on an auto search for Lohi and calling it the Friday neighborhood update. And he doesn't know that he's the only one getting it. But it makes it a lot less intimidating for him to give me his email to get on this magic list. So how you speak with people absolutely shapes how they want to interact with you. When someone comes in the door, you don't pounce on them. You know, you don't stand at the door yelling at people as they're coming up. Stand in the kitchen, stand in a neutral spot. Tell them, yeah, go look around the house and then come back and we'll chat if you have any questions. Please make sure that you sign in. But your affect in the open house absolutely matters. And then pursue. That's the last piece here. So once you have their info, you're going to follow up with them. I'm going to put Jeff on a drip campaign. I'm going to put him on a Friday neighborhood search where he thinks that he's one of 50 people versus being the only one that I'm actively pursuing. And I'm seeing what houses he's looking at. And I'm going to reach out at some point and say, hey, I just want to follow up with you. I know that you've been looking at places in the neighborhood. Like, did you see the house? And I'm going to pick a house that he clicked on yesterday. I'm going to say, oh, did you see the house at 32nd and Wyandotte? I saw it the other day. I previewed it and it actually made me think of you. Seems like something that was right up your alley. And I'm just saying that because I saw online that that's what he clicked on. And he says, yeah, actually, I think that is a great house. I wouldn't mind seeing it. But you're just strategic about how you interact with people and how you follow up with them. But again, much like if I don't collect his info, if I don't follow up with him, it's wasted time. So having your system set in command and making sure that you have smart plans set up for people and that you're using those smart plans is going to set you apart. Any other thoughts on open houses? Go ahead.
Yeah, there was some conversation about the asshole versus the
Yeah.
One thing that I see really encouraging about just being in this business Tell me somebody that doesn't want to own a house.
Yeah.
Tell me somebody, you know, in the business that I used to be in, the range of prospects was very narrow.
Yeah.
There are only so many potential clients, there's only so many people you can build relationships with, and you had to make money, right? So sometimes you have to take the assholes because they're the only ones that are there. And there's a thing to do, and that's what you gotta do. That's why I got out of the work that I used to be in. There's a lot of assholes. And I want to work with people and just have fun and be helpful to people and then to be genuinely receiving of that and appreciate that as much as I do. So the point being, all that said, in this business, with that large net that you can cast, you have more of a margin, a much broader margin to be able to cast off anyone you don't want to work with. You don't have to. You just gotta keep going out there and fishing for others. It's like, I caught this fish, it's not big. Move it on. You know, I just keep going.
Yeah.
Just wanted to share that because, you know, that relationship thing is important for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to be unfun.
Yeah. So just some perspective, what he was saying is that, and sorry, that's just for the folks at home.
Yeah,
Those
go.
they can hear it. It's just that everybody is a potential client. Before this, I sold international educational tours to teachers. You know what my clientele looked like? I mean, it was a very, very slim margin of society that could potentially be my clientele. Anybody you meet here can be your clients. And you get to prospect to who you want, and you get to work with who you want. And so if people are assholes, yeah, you don't have to work with them. And additionally, it goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning of, you need to know who your market is, and you need to know who your what your message is to that market. If you don't want to market to assholes, don't market to assholes. And I mean, you're going to get some here and there, but you don't have to work with them. But you'll quickly realize who you like working with. There's a whole sector of people that I have learned that, you know, and not in a discriminatory way, but you know, there's plenty of rich assholes out there that I feel like I've met along the way that I don't want to work with. And sure, they may be buying $1 million houses, but the juice isn't worth the squeeze with some of these people. And so figuring out who you want to work with and how to market to them is pretty important. Let me just skip ahead and look at what we got here. So adding your prospects in, this is a big one. Once that you meet people at your open house, you got to put them into command. Put in tags. Does everybody know what tags are? They're just little notes that attach to the contact that say, you know, I met this person at an open house. And so then you can pull all of your open house tags and say, just call through them in a day and say, hey, we met at an open house. Want to know if you're still in the market? It's a great way just to systematize and work through your database. And so like we have a tag on ours that's party. And every time that we do like a client event or a party, I just pull that list. And those are the people that I invite. It includes my friends, it includes my past clients, it includes people that want to buy from us, people who send us referrals. And all of those are also tags. Like so-and-so sends me referrals every couple months, and I want to thank them. And so they're a referral partner. Or, you know, there's a bunch of different ways you can tag people, but it makes it easier to sort your database. Put them in a cultivate phase where you know that they're going to be hearing from you. And this goes back a little bit to marketing, where they're getting automatic emails, they're getting houses sent to them, they're getting automatic texts through command, where you can kind of put them on autopilot. And you're still communicating with them from their side, but from your side, the AI is doing it for you because you don't have time. Once that you are in this for a couple of years and you have a database of 4,000 people, you're not going to physically email 4,000 people all the time, physically text 4,000 people all the time. And so who's going to do it for you? Command. But you have to set it up and you have to spend some time in there to say, once that I might meet someone at an open house, here's my open house smart plan. And it has these 7 emails and these 5 texts and these 2 calls over the next 6 months. And then once that's done, they automatically go into this campaign. And so they're always hearing from you in one way or another without you having to do all the work. It's the wrong feel. Set it and forget it a little bit. So questions about smart plans or following up with people? Nothing? Okay. So Really quick, there's 4 things that they put in here that can help with open houses. One is host a speaker. And so we touched on this a little bit with the sports drink or with the drinks or with a lender or with somebody else. You can bring someone to your open house that might be a little bit more compelling for people to hear. And it could be somebody launching their own business. It could be a financial advisor. It could be kind of whoever you want that you think might draw a different crowd or might work well with you. It could be an attorney about wills and trusts, and you're trying to get them business and they're trying to refer people to you. And you say, look, if you're buying a house, you probably need to get your legal shit in line. You know, if you have kids and you're looking at buying a house, what's going to happen to you if you die? Who's going to get your house? Who's going to get your kids? And so figuring out that, why don't you come and speak with a attorney who does wills and let them hear a little bit about what they have to say about how that ties into home ownership. The other ones offer a gift. We talked about that, doing a raffle for Starbucks gift cards or for $100 at Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever. So when you buy your house, you can get sheets, you can get bathroom stuff and all of that. And maybe you do it online first, and then people have to come in and do something at the open house. The other one that I saw was like a scavenger hunt at the open house. And everybody who fills out the scavenger hunt gets their name in the pot. Get the house in showing shape, we talked about that. Going live is the last one on here. And doing a Facebook Live at your open house, and I've seen you do quite a few of those. Just saying, hey, I'm here. Wanted to just show everybody in my feed what this house looks like. Wanted to talk about the benefits of it. And that's a great one to do at $1 million listing or a really nice one. And then just saying, what do you guys think about this spot in the backyard? What do you think? Well, how would your life look if you could have a place that has a pool? And just engaging your audience on a Facebook Live video that then they can share or they can look at. So think outside the box, prep for it, make sure that you're really prepared. I know people that will call 500 houses the week before their open house. They call them, mega open houses. They'll call 500 houses, they'll door knock 200 houses, they'll invite everybody that they know. They'll create an event online and they will just crush it at open houses. And that's all they do. I know people that only do open houses and they get enough traction and enough people from it, not only from people coming to the open house, but then what happens when you call 500 neighbors? At least 2 or 3 are gonna talk to you about buying or selling. And so it's definitely if you want to put all of your time into open houses, I think that there's enough offshoots of prospecting that can make this very successful for you. All right, before we go on to social media, any ahas at home? Any questions?
No questions, but you're killing it. Thank you for this information, especially on the open houses.
Yeah, they're fun. And I think that if you do them well and you can kind of nail your affect when you're talking to people at open houses, it's a great way to get clients. And we have a brand new agent on our team who, I think in our first weekend, met someone at an open house, took our advice, just made a connection with her and got her under contract the next weekend. And it was one of her first couple closings from just her first open house. So it absolutely is a very viable way to be.
Hey, Garrett.
Yeah.
Mario, we are looking for a couple of people to help with some open houses. We're going to be doing them bi-weekly. We have a pretty intricate system. We just started again last week. Had about 20 sets of folks show up at a 2 mil price range. So we're throwing out so many signs. We didn't do everything that we needed to do. And we realized that for the level of open house that we have, we need at least 4 people. So we're looking for another person to help out with a couple open houses, hopefully for the rest of the year, if not just a couple people. We don't want to retrain and train, but that way they can have some checklists and some things and provide value in the office.
Yeah, so Mario is saying that they do open houses and put out so many signs that they usually like to have about 4 people at their open houses, just help staff it. So if you guys are looking for open houses and want to see kind of how they do it and train with them and come to some open houses, they're looking for some help. Mario, how can they get in touch with you?
They can use the chat here, or I'll be in the office here pretty shortly.
Okay. Yeah, so he'll be in shortly. But if you guys are looking to do some open houses, Mario's somebody that you can get together with, get some training from him as well.
Here, like, it's not my house, right, but I have a prospect fee.
Yeah.
We were in a business. Is there, do you have an idea of like what kind of budget you maybe spend on an open house?
So as a newer agent, what you
Yeah.
should spend, you can do this for very, very cheap. I think that, like, if you were to hold an open house for our team, you can use our team signs. I think that the office might have some signs, but eventually you can buy those little cardboard open house signs and you buy 15 of those or 10 of those and put them around. Those are going to be less than $100. And then printing here, like let's say you print out 2 sheets for people to sign in, that's going to be 20 cents. Beyond that, you're just kind of posting up and wait for having people come in and having conversations with them. You're putting them into command for free. I mean, you can do open houses for very, very, very cheap.
Do you think it's like a distraction to be like, maybe, I'm not gimmicky, but like, I definitely have Google like open house ideas. And they can like, they like popcorn, they can think outside, like, that kind of.
I think that here's the beauty of what we do. There's no wrong way of doing it. I think if you find something, and we're about to jump into that after social media, if you find something that works for you, double down on it. If you do popcorn one week and nobody wants your popcorn, don't do popcorn again. If you find that doing a gift card works great, then do a gift card. Because everything is going to cost a little bit of money. But if you find that you have a better chance of getting people's real info by doing a $25 gift card, $25 for 4 leads is cheap. And so that may be an investment that you want to do. If you find that you're not getting any better information or more names by doing a gift card, don't do a gift card. It's a little bit of trial and error on what works best for you, but they really don't have to be expensive. This is a really low cost way of getting in front of people. Does that answer your question? Kind of. I think that the best teacher of what's going to work for you is time and experience. And we'll, again, let me jump into social media, because after that, I want to talk through like how to figure out what's going to be best for you personally. Let's see. Okay. So social media, I think that this is what everybody loves to do because it's not intimidating. It's online. It's not, nobody's slamming a door in your face. Nobody's yelling at you. And with that, you have to understand that it's because it's easier and it's less committing, everybody does it. And so it takes higher numbers and a bit more work. But let's jump into social media. So it is becoming a pretty important aspect of lead generation, because if you don't have an online presence, there's absolutely going to be a hole in what you do. And so you do need to spend some time on, enhancing your marketing to be prospect based in this, but making sure that you guys are not missing that hole in your real estate career. It allows you to create your content, allows you to get out there in front of people without having as much of a time investment. So you can create something and then just put it out there and people are going to see it again and again and again. So the 3 social media channels that are directly connected to Command are going to be Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And Command has a huge platform that lets you design whatever you want, and then it posts it for you on these different platforms, and then they can track they can track all kinds of stuff. I'll get into that in a minute. But who are you going to target? And so this goes back to what we talked about earlier with your messaging. Like, who are you going to reach out to? Facebook and Instagram has tightened up a lot of what you can and can't select just due to anti-discrimination stuff. It used to be you could say, I want people who are 25 to 29 that make over $100,000 a year and are not married and don't have kids. Well, Facebook realized that that is against a fair amount of fair housing because of family status and because of income, so they don't let you get that specific anymore. But I used to be able to say those are the only people that I want to see my ad. Now with real estate, it's a lot more general, but you can still pick your target audience. and you can still make selections about who's going to see your ad and how you're going to market to them. And then you get to design your ad for whoever you want. So again, going back to mountain biking, like if someone wants to, and let me use a different example. I was speaking with an agent earlier this week who wants to be the golfing real estate agent. He is going to start every week essentially touring a golf course, saying, you know, here are the pros of this golf course, here are the cons, here's what I like about it. Let me show you what it would look like to live on this golf course. And he's going to tour the house that's on that golf course. He's going to say, you know, this is what $550,000 gets you on this city course, or this is what $2 million gets you on this private exclusive course. Here's what the houses look like. Here's what the golf course is, and he's going to become a golfing real estate agent. Talk about a niche. Talk about putting content onto your page that speaks to a certain demographic. And then he runs ads about that. You know, subscribe to my page or my YouTube channel or whatever to learn more about living your golfing dream.
Now, these aren't specifically his listings. He's just going through, so and so course.
And he's reaching out to the agent who has the listing and saying, hey, here's what I do. Can I shoot a video to promote your listing? And he says, you know, this is listed by so-and-so at Remax of down, blah, blah, blah. If you'd like to see it, give me a call. But he's putting content out there. The group that he wants to work with is being creative about it. And so that's the beauty of what we're talking about with social media. You can be whatever you want to whoever you want. But come up with what your message is, you know, figure out how you're going to craft it, share it. And the key to this is what are people going to want to see out of you? You have to offer some sort of value. I see a lot of people just putting stuff out there on Facebook that offers no value. And they have 5 views, and it's their mom and their mom's friends. Like, you need to put a little bit of time and energy into this, a little thought into this. Why would people stop scrolling to look at what you have to offer? There's a really good book out there called Hook Point. If you're getting into social media strategies, I forget the guy's name. Hook Point. And this guy, I want to say he also has a book called A Million Followers in 90 Days. But he is a social media guru. I'm on a mastermind with Gary Keller, and he's come on a few times to talk about, like, here's how you really make your brand stand out. And he says, you've got 3 seconds in a video to hook someone. You have 3 seconds to build content that is going to make people stick around and make you sticky. Obviously, none of us are going to be at that level right now. And so it's something to attain to, it's something to read up on, it's something to look into. Don't let that be the thing that stops you. I joked about the person who gets 5 views and their mom is one of them. That person at least gets 5 more eyes on their stuff than those of us who aren't posting anything. And so don't be afraid to put stuff out there. But then let me get into this next part. You're gonna basically seek your prospects. Who are you targeting? What location? What are your audience's interests? If it's golf, you're gonna put it out there on golf channels. You're gonna share it and you're gonna post your content. This is where it gets kind of fun. After you share your posts, you can monitor the performance through command. You can see how many people saw it. You can see how many people clicked on it. You can see how many people clicked off of that onto your page or wherever that post goes. Because when you build something in command, you put out an ad, and when someone clicks on it, you pick where they go. They go to your website, they go to a lead funnel, they go to just a pop-up page that says, if you want to hear more about buying a house on a golf course, fill this out. And so you can choose where that leads them to, and this is all idiot-proof on command. They've made it so easy. And then you post that. And let's say you do one about golf, and you do one about puppies, and you do one about, you know, owning a house with a golf course that you can have puppies on. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Then you go in and you can see how many people clicked on it, how many people watched your video, how many people did X, Y, and Z, and you can see what kind of content you're putting out there that matters and what kind of content nobody cares about. I know people who will run the exact same ad or the same content side by side, and they'll run 2, and this one has different interests than that one. Or this one was posted on a Wednesday and that one was posted on a Friday. And they do a control and a B, you know, an A and a B of the same thing. And then they really get nitty gritty about posting on Tuesday at 10 a.m. is better than posting on Saturday at 5 p.m. Because nobody's looking at social media on Saturday at 5 p.m. or posting stuff where I'm in a video gets 10 more views than just a video of a house. And so if you're the analytical type, absolutely run your ads through command, and you can see if I put $5 behind it, I get my views increased by 500%. And did anybody click on the ad? No. And so maybe that was the wrong kind of ad, or that wasn't enough money. But you can get really analytical and pretty deep on social media through command.
LinkedIn,
Yeah, talk to me about LinkedIn.
is it in the command costume?
No, not right now. So you can't post in command and have it syndicate through LinkedIn.
Is Facebook the only thing you can use through command, or
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram is on there too?
Yep. Yeah.
I know you can set up your Instagram as like a business account, you can kind of track those things as well.
Absolutely, and you can track stuff on Facebook itself. I just don't know if it goes as in depth.
Right,
And you still get all that tracking on Facebook.
right.
And so it just is an easier like interface where you can design the ad on command, you can tweak it, you can do all the back end stuff, and then you can post it from command, and then you get the analytics on command. You still get the analytics on Facebook because it's still being posted on there. But it just, it
But it's
gets,
all in one spot.
yeah, exactly.
Using your regular Facebook account, which is an initial sphere you have.
Yep.
And transferring and getting yourself to kind of, to put a silo around that as a business tool away from commercials. How does that work? Do you want to do that? Do you care about that?
So there's
Does that
different,
question make sense?
yeah, like how much on business and how much on personal, should you have a business account, that kind of stuff.
Is it okay to be on a private, on your own Facebook account, or is it a smart long run trying to isolate those things out so they're separate? I have a Facebook account. Should I set up a business?
Yeah. Yeah, Facebook will say yes. Facebook, if you're posting everything business on your personal account, they say that they'll turn it into a business account. There's plenty of people who just have a personal account and they run their business through it. I personally have a business account that I share on my personal account, so I'm getting eyes on both pages.
I'll have the link in here.
Like I will share, I'll put posts under Bring Home Denver, and then I'll share the Bring Home Denver post on my personal page. I
Is that
said,
automatic when it happens?
nope. So I'll post it up there and then I just share it to my friends on my page.
If somebody clicked on your personal page, is your Bring Home Denver tag in your bio? Like, could they
Don't
find
know.
you through
I
that?
think so. I'm not sure. I'm not the best at social media. I'll tell you that right off the bat. There's some people in this office who are phenomenal. I sat down with one of the other top teams, and the owner of that team, we had a long conversation about Facebook. He just uses Facebook, and they sell more than everybody in this room combined almost, probably. And he just uses Facebook. And what he does is he goes on and he adds every single suggestion of friends, and all that till he got to 5,000 people. And then he just, his admin, but he could easily do this as well, just messages people. That's it. And they just say, hey, how are you doing? Long time no see her. I wanted to like let you know I'm in real estate. Is there anybody that can help? And he goes through his 5,000 people every quarter, and just with a canned message. And some people reach out, some people don't, some people unfriend him. And he's like, look, I don't care. Rejection on Facebook is so much easier than rejection being a door slammed in your face. Or, yeah, or on the phone where someone's screaming at me, or getting kicked out of apartment buildings, or whatever it may be. And that's goes back to what we talked about. There's going to be rejection in every aspect of real estate. Your goal, part of this class, is to figure out what's the most palpable rejection for you. Because I don't care how you get rejected, you're going to get rejected. And would you prefer to get rejected while you're outside, actually having face-to-face conversations? Because once you have those convert higher than on Facebook. Or are you fine making your entire Facebook persona just about sales and just, I don't want to say spamming, because it's not spamming, but reaching out to people nonstop on Facebook and having it go through that venue? And it really, what prospecting comes down to is, how do you want to be told no? How are you going to be told no so that it's sustainable? Because if you can't take no in this capacity, maybe you can take no over here. But what is the way that you're going to take no and you're going to keep doing it? Because you're going to get a lot of no's. And if you're doing this right, a lot of people are going to just say, I don't want to have this conversation with you. And so what is the way that you're going to do it? You're going to come back and continue to do it. You're going to get better at it. And fewer people are going to say that to you. Where's your longevity going to be? Because prospecting is about sticking it out. It's about consistency. And so you got to find the niche that makes sense for you. Today, we're going over 4. There's 150 different ways to prospect. And your longevity in real estate will depend on your ability to continue to prospect nonstop. So questions about that piece on social media? They are going to say that 20% of your social media posts should be business. 80% should be personal. And this is something that I personally am terrible at. I think that people don't really care what's going on in my life. When I sit down and I care about what other people are doing, there's a disconnect. I know that they do, but I'm not the best at sharing personal stuff. And so when I do share personal stuff, I'm always shocked at the amount of people that are interested. So I need to be better at that. If I'm taking the Pareto effect, essentially saying that 80% of my stuff should be personal, I'm failing it. And I bet I would get a lot more sales if I shared more personally about my life. But people don't just want to see just listed, just sold, open house, well, because there's nothing about you in that. And that's where this goes back to kind of separating it and separating out your posts and running them through commands so that you can see, wow, people really love seeing my new puppy. And you put it through command and it's just on your page and you talk about where you got it. Maybe you highlight like vet hospital. And so then you tag the vet hospital. So people who are on that vet hospital page and care a ton about puppies are then going to see your business page. And so there's 150 different ways that you can do it through social media. Get creative, think about including more people, widening your audience, and drawing people in. But the metrics, your performance metrics are important. So pay attention to those. You got to show the world who you are. I think that that's a big piece. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's tons of social media classes out there.
Hey, Garrett.
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly McPherson here. I had a quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had mentioned some books earlier. I'm a big Audible fan. What I didn't quite catch the one you were talking about social media. I didn't quite catch that book. And you also mentioned The Big Book, something like that about not eating dinner alone.
Oh, yeah, Never Eat Alone is the meal one. So Never Eat Alone. I forget who the author is. And the social media one is, I think he has 2. One's Hook Point, like a hook, like a fishing hook, Hook Point. And I think his other one's called 1 Million Followers in 90 Days or something, but Hook Point will take you to the author.
Thank you so much.
Of course, absolutely. So, absolutely, if social media is going to be your medium for reaching out to people and prospecting, take a class, take 100 classes, start following other people on social media who are doing this well. There's a couple of really good teams and groups out there, and all they do is interview businesses. That's it. They go into popular businesses and they say, hey, I'm just doing a neighborhood spotlight. Would it be okay if I highlight your business? And can I speak with somebody about what you guys do? They go to Hops and Pie on Tennyson and they say, hey, it's Garrett from Bring Home Denver. Our weekly business spotlight is Hops and Pie. Like, I don't know if you guys have been here, but on Wednesday they do the canned beer and you get the sweet koozie. They have these kinds of specials. They are known for their pizza and their vegan donuts. And if you want to try them out, here's where they are. And they interview the owner about something that they want to say. And so if you're looking at moving into Tennyson, this is a mainstay, and this is a staple, and this is what you can expect in this neighborhood. If you're curious about any real estate needs, give me a call. And they just do that. And then Hops and Pie gets highlighted. You tag them on the page. People who like their page then see your post, and you're just creating content that people are going to enjoy. You could do speakeasies around Denver. Here's the best cocktail bars. Here is, and again, this goes back to who's your audience, what do you want to say about your brand, and how are you going to communicate to them? But if you're like, I love whiskey. And if I wanted to be someone who makes that a part of my business, I do a whiskey party every year that I invite clients to. I could be in search of the best Manhattan in town or the best old fashioned. And so once a week, I highlight, we're up here at the schoolhouse in Old Town Arvada and they have 5,000 bottles on the wall. I'm going to try their barrel aged old fashioned. That could be a hook. I don't know. On Instagram, I don't follow them, but I see a guy doing Barstool Sports pizza reviews in Chicago, I think, every week. And you see him walking out of them all over the nation.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's their thing. And he just reviews pizza joints, right? And do you watch him?
Oh, yeah.
And do you ever
The
go
guy's a
to,
genius,
Yeah.
an absolute marketing genius.
yeah. Do you ever go to any of the pizza joints that he goes to?
Yeah, we were in Philly, DC and Philly, about a month ago. Yeah, we went to one of them. He's done a couple in Denver actually as well.
Okay.
So right before I moved down here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's kind of- yeah. But no, Genie's very good for sure.
And so what I'm getting at is it doesn't matter what your niche is. Like there's weirdos for every niche out there. And if you want to be their lead weirdo, great, do it. You don't have to be the most polished professional, suited up, whatever it is. Like find your people and create content for them. It would be so easy to, use my alcoholism to get more clients and say,
Yeah.
hey, if you like whiskey, I like whiskey. Let's start touring places and sitting down with bartenders and talking about the best whiskey drinks in the entire town. How long would it take me at 1 or 2 a week to do a whiskey tour of every bar in town and talk about the best drinks in town? I could be doing this for years. And what kind of following do you think I would get on our business page as the real estate whiskey guy? And so the content that you put out there, it's about me, it's about what I like, and it can bring in real estate however you want. So questions on that? Okay, awesome. So we are just going to take a few minutes. We've got about 20 minutes left. I'm gonna finish up a little bit early, but I wanna talk about how to figure out what you should do for your prospecting. And so I'm just gonna run through this model really quick. We're not going to do it together. So I wanna be conscious of time, and I know there's another class here coming in. So take action to develop your personal plan. This is where the rubber meets the road. And this is where you guys decide what you're going to do to prospect. On our team, we used to say, we're going to figure out what your niche is, and we're going to build that into your plan. There should be probably 5 sources or less that you do. And so we talked about 4 today. We mentioned 35 when we first started. You should really pick 4. Think about a stool. There's 4 legs on a stool. There's 4 places your business should be coming into. And that doesn't mean following up to your database. That doesn't mean calling your friends or anything like that. That is lead follow-up. I'm talking about you're adding people to your database through 4 means. And so we're going to talk about really quickly how to figure out what those 4 should be for each of you. But 80% of the people out there got 90% of their business from 5 sources or less. And so almost everybody in the field is only doing a few things and they're just doing it really well. So you don't need to be a jack of all trades. You just need to be a master of a few.
Would you say social media right now is kind of the I guess, leader or mainstay as far as
For some people,
that one? Or what would you say that?
for me, no. Like I said, we're terrible at social media. You look at our Bring Home Denver Facebook page, and I don't know what the last thing that was posted on there. I'm sure it was the listing that we had last week, but we're terrible at that. And so social media isn't our strong suit. It's not something we put a lot of money in and time into. Ours is probably events. Like we throw client appreciation parties and like, what's that? Client appreciation parties. And so quarterly, we're throwing a party for our clients. And sometimes it's at Elitch's, and we're getting tickets for people and giving parking to them when we got lunch there. And we did an Elitch's event. That was an expensive one. A cheaper one was we did a barbecue in a park. I think our most expensive one was we rented out the ballroom at one of the downtown hotels with the Parade of Lights. It was right on the parade route. And we catered it, and we had bartenders and all of that. And I split it with 2 different lenders and the title person and somebody else. And so I didn't pay the whole amount. We had 400 people come because who wants to stand outside in the cold with the Parade of Lights?
Now, are these people that are already in your pipeline, already in your database, or are these
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we tell them, bring your family, bring your friends.
Right.
And we have everybody sign in when we get there. And then we follow up them systematically. We just did one at Mile High Spirits, and we raffled off, 6 bottles of booze, and we had a food truck that came in. But our thing is probably events. That's what we do the best. I'm in my 8th year. And so events can be a little bit harder just financially, but I know Mike Bruce did a game night down here where he got, I want to say like 4 Nintendos and Xboxes and whatnot, and got a bunch of pizzas and invited everybody for like a game night tournament. And he paid for the pizzas. Everything else he had, he used the office. It doesn't have to be crazy expensive. Do a game day at a tournament game day at the park where you have horseshoes and bags, and you are out there grilling on a barbecue, and you bring a couple of coolers of beer and you invite your friends. That's something that we do for prospecting, and because we want to work with our own database and we want to work with their referrals, and so we incentivize people to give us referrals. So what this is, and I want you guys to do this after we leave, but you're going to list out every single way that you have tried to get clients or got clients in that left-hand column. So that's your list. So if you've done door knocking, how many times did you do it? How many clients did you get? Calling your sphere. And so these are the people who know, like, and trust you. Like, how are you reaching out to them? And how many clients have you gotten from that? Your agent to agent referrals. How many are you getting from that? Your FSBOs, your open houses. If you've held open houses, how many clients did you get there? And that's where I say, you need to know how many people you're talking to at door knocking versus open house, and how long it took, and how much you enjoyed it, so that you'll actually seriously do this long term. Sign calls, you got to be able to track those, how many people are coming in. And so numbers matter. We have an entire spreadsheet of every single house that we've ever sold, who the client is, what the price point was, what we made off of it, and where they came from. And so I can look on that and I can sort that data, and I can say we have closed 350 people from our sphere of influence, and we have closed 65 from the public defender system, and we have closed 83 from open houses, and we have closed 20 from door knocking. And so then what you're going to do is you're going to put those in order in that next slide over. You're going to prioritize them. And so right here, you're seeing the example here. This person should be doing more social media. You know what they should never do again? Agent referrals, FSBOs, and that's fine, because it's important to know this number on social media, but more important is this number down here. You suck at agent referrals. That's totally fine. The sooner that you realize that you suck at agent referrals, the sooner you can take all of this time and all of this energy and put it right here or right here. And so the goal here, and I know that we talked about this, but the goal here is, let's find out what you're good at, and let's find out what you're terrible at, because you don't need to be doing 6 through 10. You maybe don't even need to be doing open houses on 5. You need to do 1 through 4, and you need to crush it at 1 through 4. And so you may not love calling your sphere, but the numbers show that you are getting more dollar per hour out of calling your sphere. And so maybe spend a little bit more time working on your scripts, figure out ways that you can make this a little bit more enjoyable. Let's say that you love agent referrals. You can absolutely spend a little more time on this to figure out if you can move it up a little bit, but the numbers are showing that you shouldn't be doing agent referrals anymore. That's where we get over to here. Like, figure out, these are going to be your 2 big money makers, social media and door knocking. And this is obviously this person's example. But you don't know this until you've done all 10 or all 15 or all 25 of these prospecting things and tracked your numbers. Once that you've tracked them, you can put them in order, and then you realize, this is where I make my money. But if you're sitting over here in client parties down here, or FSBOs, and you spend all of your time doing FSBOs, but you don't track your numbers, and you don't know where money is coming from, and you don't know where your closings are, you're going to be spinning your wheels getting 2 FSBOs a year, and you're going to get out of real estate because you're like, shit, real estate is so hard, and I'm a failure at real estate. But really, you're a failure at FSBOs, which is fine. It's okay to fail at FSBOs. It's okay to fail at door knocking. It's okay to fail at whatever you're bad at and whatever you don't like. But if you don't track your numbers, you'll never know. You'll never know that you are a social media guru and that that's where all your sales are coming from. So I really, really, really encourage you guys to do this. Take some time to work on this plan. Write out everything that you've done, everything that you've closed, or even every lead that you've gotten. I mean, go through your database, figure out where leads came from, and put them into here. Because this doesn't even have to be closings. This can just be leads. And figure out where your highest dollar per hour activity is. Okay, so that's your prospecting plan. Any questions? Anything from folks at home?
That's good stuff.
Good.
Just want to say thank you, Garrett.
What's that?
Just wanted to say thank you, Garrett.
Absolutely. Yeah, happy to do it. Like I said, our office is down here in the basement in the corner. If you have any questions, please come see me. Reach out, let me know. The last 2 pages on here that you'll see are going to be script practice and putting it into lead generation. And so the key to a lot of this is you got to know what you're talking about. You got to have your scripts. You have to understand it. But I really want people to stay in real estate. I think it's a phenomenal career. But if you don't know how to prospect, or you're doing the wrong prospecting that is unfulfilling to you, or you're doing the prospecting that is not giving you a return, you're going to get out of real estate. But if you can find the things that you enjoy, you can do them well to make sure that you're getting good return on them, and you do them consistently, you treat it like a job. There's nothing that says that each of you can't make $1 million a year. And it's not an exaggeration. That's not hyperbole. You can make $1 million a year in real estate just doing the things that you love. You just got to do it consistently, and you got to track your numbers. So I hope that helps. By all means, feel free to reach out. It's Garrett at Bring Home Denver. Feel free to email me or stop by the office. I'm here quite a bit.
2 R's, 2 T's.
Yep, 2 R's, 2 T's. Bring Home Denver.
Bring home Denver.
Yep.
Have a Facebook friend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't have anything on my Facebook page, but yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.